where these questions come in. Before they get into my classroom, they still, they're kids, so they're getting a little out of hand, a little out of control. Some are fighting out inside, walking, some poking with a pencil. But the students who are at the front, they're good, they're ready to go inside. So I said, okay, students, Minjae, let's say we're doing foods, right? My third class. Minjae, tell me one fruit. And he says, apple. Good job. Go inside, on your desk, there's a puzzle waiting for you. So instead of just letting them in the classroom, and again, you start to go a little wild, there's silent work waiting for them. The instructions are written in Korean on the board. They sit down and go to work immediately. So now I have really good students, and they're inside, and they're sitting patiently and quietly doing work. So now it's a much smaller crowd to manage. And that smaller crowd, now I can see everybody. Now I know who's doing what. And then they start to fight on the line. But I don't want them going into my classroom like this. When I turn my back with the teacher, like I can understand that. If I was that student, I'd feel the same way. So I said, okay, I've got to get them in a positive mindset. So I'm going to ask them questions that are easy for them to answer. Questions that they've already heard the lesson before. Questions that if they can't answer, I'm going to help them with. Right? I'm going to prompt them right at the front door. So now I'm setting everybody in, and then there's just like a few less strugglers. So you might be a troublemaker, the worst kids you've got. There might be kids who have problems at home, whatever. So I'm thinking, like, before I let them into this class, I've got to get them in the proper mindset. So I've got classroom helpers. Okay, you're my classroom leader today. You're going to use the computer. You're going to click the PowerPoint. That's your only job. I also have a classroom management, class dojo. It's a point system that I use on my cell phone. I said, here's my cell phone. And you've got to give all the points today. Okay, so now Jake and Minji, they're done. Okay, they're totally ready. Now they have responsibility in the classroom, they have a role to fulfill. And their role is really important because if they have a responsibility, they'll take the class seriously. They don't, hey, Minji, where's my point? Or, Jaden, can you please click to the next slide? Can you please show us the answers on the textbook? It's just pure pressure. Then this way, I'm not the bad guy. They now have a role that they have to live up to. They have a responsibility to fulfill. I've given them a positive reputation in class. So you need to go to the back, hands up, right? Or get out, go back to your homework. Now I said, okay, you're really important in my classroom. So go inside and act like you're an important person. And that really solved a lot of my problems. And it filled this quota that I've tried to set for myself, 300 or 400 questions. Now, once they all get inside, they've got that silent work, and I'll just try and finish it. Some students are finished immediately, and I don't know what to do. Right? Well, this is where I have my supplementary material. I've always got something else waiting. Okay? If you finish the story, you illustrated it, you've written it, here you go, here's the next one. Right? Idle hands are the devil's playground, and that's the famous saying. Same for your good students and your bad students. Mostly, they're just bored. Like they're looking for something to do. It's not comprehensible. That could be another big problem. So if you've got something, either level A, here's level A, okay, they're done, next. Okay, level C, here you go. Level B, next. Keeping that constant flow of interaction, keeping them focused on the task at hand, and the next task, and the next task. Most students, if they have something to do that they understand, will do it. I mean, even like the worst students, they're not demons, they're human beings, they're people. So once they have something that they understand that they can do, they'll do it. I find that to be really helpful. The last part that I want to talk about is about getting specific. When I ask questions like, do you understand? Oh, young Brian teacher, what were you doing? Oh, you have to go through. I thought to myself, like, that's a good question, right? Hey, do you understand this activity? Oh my God, what was I thinking? Sure, that's a great answer. You're ready. Go ahead. Teacher, huh? Oh, okay. Teacher, how do I do this, right? And I didn't know what to do either. So one of my coworkers told me, you have to get specific when you're asking about comprehension. If you give this game, if you give this activity, if you give a writing worksheet to do, and you ask, do you understand? Sure, teacher. Great. And then that's on the floor in the next 3 or 4 minutes. What the co-teacher told me was, you have to ask, this is number one. Answer number one before we rate you. Or, you tell me in Korea what does it mean, and I'll have my co-teacher check it out. Or, here we're going to do number one as a whole group. We're going to be specific instruction, we're going to give it repeatedly. So it's comprehensible and it's repetitious. Same for your questions. If you're lined up in the beginning of class, and we're asking you, tell me a fruit. Okay, apple, cherry, banana, grape, pineapple. You get to the next row and somebody doesn't know, it's a red fruit. Oh, it's a red fruit that Snow White likes. Which doesn't. But it's a red fruit. Now they've got this, and they heard apple already. Go ahead, that's perfect. Right, the repetition is not getting specific. All right. Now, my conclusion is we don't receive wisdom. I can't tell you what to do in your class. I can tell you what I do in my class. You can use that as a guide. But we must discover it for ourselves. After a journey that no one can take for us or spare us. That's the key part for me. Spare us from. Especially you secondary teachers. You have pretty apathetic students. And sometimes that reflects back on you. You know, your students are a mirror of yourselves, but you're also a mirror of your students. And I understand. The other teachers here understand how you feel. But if you feel like the students are terrible, I'm not getting through to them, my students aren't listening, they're not paying attention, what do I do? How do I fix this problem? Everybody here is in the same boat. But ask, what are you doing in your class that works? Hey, how do you manage your students? You've got a few free minutes. Ask somebody about their journey. What worked for you? What didn't work for you? What should we be doing? Right? The rest of this day and the rest of tomorrow in the morning, you've got a golden opportunity. Don't waste it. Okay? We have about 5 minutes before I'm going to finish up. Before I go into the last thing, does anyone have a question for me about their school specifically? Management technique, professor principle, something that they want to ask about? Yes.
Yeah. So in the beginning, you were saying it was if you find that your class is not grasping, you want to say like we don't move on.
Sure.
I don't know. Personally, in my school, that's not an option here. Like I have to move on, but I don't have an option to stay and wait until my kids get it. So then what do you do?
Now, this is where I recycle material into the new lesson. Right? I've got to identify which parts that they're not getting, and I've got to recycle that back into the questions. So let's say lesson 9 was prepositions, right? And then lesson 10 is directions. Okay? I'll make a point of focusing on the prepositions into that next lesson. Now, you might lose some instruction time in the directions, but I always feel like there are kind of throwaway lessons in the book. Things that are repeats of previous lessons, things that are not really that important for us. They're not really key talking points. Right? They're not things that are really that applicable. Like telephone English. Who speaks on the telephone anymore? The last time I was talking on the telephone was like 3 years ago, like an extended conversation. And I don't say, Ryan speaking, how may I help you? I'm not a customer service person. So those times I can teach that in like 1 or 2 lessons, and then use the rest of that time to drop in materials that should be covered. I totally understand that because we've got to teach for the test. The test is coming, right? Oh no, nobody wrong. That's coming. But you can drop things back in, recycle material, recycle this. And then try to find parts in that lesson, in the textbook, that apply to it. I mean, most of the stuff is recycled anyway. So you'll get a second chance to see if they don't. But yeah, we're talking, I teach the 3rd grade, 4th, 5th, and 6th. I didn't do this in my first year teaching, and they were in 3rd grade, and now they're almost in high school. But I saw that failure for 4 years in my face. Right? You didn't teach them the alphabet properly, you didn't teach phonics properly, and every day it was in my face. And I said, you know what? When they were in 2nd semester of 5th grade, I said, stop. For a whole month, 3rd, 4th, 5th, and 6th grade, all we did was phonics. Now, you might not have that luxury, but you might have the luxury of 5 minutes at the end of class, 5 minutes at the beginning of the class, and just do content recycling. And if you talk to your coaches, they haven't grasped all of this yet. They need to recycle. They need a refresher on this. You probably can get 5 minutes here or there. I think that might be really useful. Good question. How do you?
You talked a lot about classroom management, for instance, through your question. So one of my questions, how long does that process take?
Yeah. We're only here, most of us, for a year after school, right?
No. How long does the, asking, how many minutes in the beginning do you go live to next?
So, if we're all only at our school for a year, you're thinking, how much time do I want to spend on classroom procedure, right? And getting them lined up, or like asking questions, or how to bring your textbook and your pencil. These small things that make your classroom life much easier. Right? And the questions, like I was talking about, at first, the first time I did it, could take 15 minutes, right? But that's the first time. And then the next time it was 14 and a half. And the next time it's 13, 12, 10. Now, my 6th graders say, all right, push your chairs and line up. Everybody knows that the chairs are pushed in. Everybody has to sit back down again and push your chairs in again. So at first, many times we had to sit down again. Everybody come back and sit down. Now pushing your chairs in again. But now everybody's got that. Everybody pushes their chair in and line up. And they listen attentively to the question. It's going to be lights, it's going to be about fruit, it's going to be about vegetables, or snacks, or fast food. And we go through it like a minute.
All right, and my second part of the question, how do you introduce something like that to a veteran co-teacher? Because I know personally, I have a particular relationships all over the place, and I've talked about, different disciplinary styles, and it's because it's her classroom, and I'm kind of like the visitor, so it's just kind of like her way.
Well, this is a perfect opportunity to gently introduce something, because that's difficult. I've had over a dozen co-teachers since I've been in the grade. Some of them are really accepting of advice from me, information from me, especially the older I get, the longer I stay, the more receptive. But this is a perfect opportunity. Oh, I'm sorry. At my orientation, somebody showed me this really good thing. And it said, so it's not saying I'm smarter than you, because it's my idea. It's, I saw it in the book, and I think it would be really cool. Let's give it a try. I always think kind of deflecting the ego of that person who said, oh, I have this really great idea. I'm smarter than you. I'm a better teacher than you. Of course, they're not going to be so willing to accept it. But if you pull an end around, I got this in the lecture. I think this could really help us with our question. Let's give it a try. And once they see, oh, wow, everybody's talking and interacting and kind of calm, usually if it's a good technique, they'll accept it. And then you can even say, oh man, I'm so glad that you thought of this idea and you let us try it. Butter or butter? That's what they want. Back in.
I'm just actually curious, it's nothing specific, but I think it's important to incorporate business I just wonder if you had any advice for how you would go about ways to go about doing that. You use true stories that work recently, but you notice are more routine stuff getting on the subway or going to the store.
Sure.
Any advice as to how, ways of going about incorporating that?
More personalizing it for individual students.
Maybe more real to them.
Okay, so I don't know if everybody heard. The question was, how do you incorporate more personal information, like their personal lives, into the teaching methods? And I know myself, the number one topic I love talking about, I love myself. I love myself. Right? I'm my favorite person in the world. That name is the best word in any language. But your students also feel that way. They feel they know themselves best. Right? They know their little family circles, and they know their neighborhood, and they know their school, and they're most comfortable to talk about that. When I ask you, how many brothers and sisters do you have? There's no wrong answer. You just know. Oh, brothers. Right? So personal information is easiest for students to recall, easiest for them to talk about. Even if you have like a co-teacher class or co-teacher training, that's what they're most comfortable talking about, is themselves and the personal lives, the personal experience. And most of the language in the textbooks are about storytelling about themselves. So I like that technique that I do. It took me about 3 months of teaching that style to get the students to be able to write the stories themselves. So I'd say, all right, we're going to do like routines during the day. But they had to use this storytelling technique. And they had to draw the pictures themselves of their daily routine. And they had to write all of the English in for their daily routine. It might be getting on the subway. They might need to use the digital content, right? They might need to use Google image search and download the subway signs and the kiosks and how to order a ticket. But storytelling like that personalizes it to themselves. So like, how do you get to school? Well, take some photos on your way to school, print it out, and those are your directions. Teaching individual content is difficult because it takes a lot of time from the teacher. But I always think that the more personalized for your students in the classroom that you make the material, that's work outside of the classroom, right? When it's very low stress. It's time consuming, but there's no kids yelling in your ear, screaming in your ear. So that time you can work very easily at a casual pace. When you have good material created outside of the class, it goes into the classroom much more easily. And then your job is a piece of cake. As compared to if you're unprepared, you have one lesson for everybody. So in terms of the content, I think that's based on each individual lesson, but doing a lot of the prep work outside of class and finding, are you middle school, high school, elementary school? So if you have elementary students, you can find out this class likes this activity, and this class doesn't like this activity. Personalizing the class is a lot easier than the content. Content, I think maybe at the consultation tonight, I can give you some more information on that. But yeah, personalizing each class, not having one 6th grade lesson, or one 5th grade lesson, or one high school lesson. That could really help. Now, let me think about that some more.
Ooh, quick one.
Sure.
Basketball for volunteers, and no one raises their hand. What's your favorite method?
Okay, I can do this right now with everybody. I learned this on a JetBlue air flight. It's an American domestic carrier. And there was a really fun stewardess. Any stewardess or flight attendant? Excuse me. Not that one, right? So she said, hey, everybody, we got some prizes up front. Let's play a game. And she said, everybody put one hand in the air. And everybody put one hand in the air, like this. It's okay. And we played rock, paper, scissors on the whole airplane.